And welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the monastery, the open bar of the internet, the world's greatest shit show, and the place where we, the good brothers and sisters of this most holy of temples, seek enlightenment through the drunkest, craziest, and most batshit ways possible. I am your one and only gaming monk, better known as Mildra, and with me I have a returning good brother to the temple, creator of the Nimble 5e system, and now back with a reprint of said system, along with a new expansion called Monsters and More. The one and only Evan Diaz. How you doing today, man?
Hey, doing good. How are you?
I am doing good. Um, I have kept an eye on the nor'easter storms on the East Coast and had a bit of a laugh. Um, I feel bad for people who are stuck at airports and the like because of flights, but at the same time, I went through a polar vortex a month ago, so
Oh,
where
yeah. All right.
where it was like minus 35 for like 2 weeks.
Wow. Yeah, that's definitely not enough degrees. I'm down here in Florida where it's not too bad.
Although there was one instance where it snowed for like a day in Florida, and I saw everybody panicking, which was high comedy.
Yep, yep. They don't know how to do things when it gets cold.
Yeah, on one hand, I feel for them when because they don't have the infrastructure for plows and the like in the South. On the other
Hmm.
hand, turnabout is fair play, and I get needled by my friends down south about how, oh, you're freezing up there and it's nice and warm down here. So when the shoe gets on the other foot, yeah, I'm gonna rub salt in that wound.
Yeah.
But now I will note my congratulations on how well the crowdfund has done so far. You got 16 days to go, and oh, just went up again. Um, and it's currently at a half a million and change. 547,792 if I want to be specific. Um, it'll
Yeah.
probably end up
Thank you. Thank you
updating
so
by the
much.
time we finish this broadcast.
Yeah.
But now I don't want to completely retread what we had talked about last time when we were just focused on covering Nimble's second edition.
Hmm.
But with this reprint, are there any significant changes that are going to be having, or is it largely going to is the core rules, GM guide, and heroes largely going to be the same as it was last time?
Yeah, so the core books are going to be largely the same. The Heroes book is changing a bit. So instead of one book with all the different hero classes, it's being separated out into different zines. So each of the 11 original core heroes is getting its own zine now. So that instead of everybody like, yeah, congratulations, everybody levels up. Then everybody has to sort of wait and pass around the one book at the table. Each person has their own little book that they can reference, and they don't have to write down all their different things. So it's just going to be a little bit handier way to take care of some of that. So the Heroes book is changing format slightly, but other than that, there's just some like minor errata. But mostly, the core books are a reprint,
Hmm.
and then there's additional expansion stuff on top of that.
So it sounds like the main thing that's going to happen is just the instead of one big book for the heroes, one small book for Berserker, for Cheat, for Commander, and so on.
Yeah, yeah. So it's going to be just a small zine for each of the different heroes. There's additional subclasses and options and like FAQ and that kind of stuff also. So it gives me a little bit more space to add some more useful content that people can find handy.
Yeah. And I'm guessing the extra subclasses that was at the tail end of Heroes is going to be its own zine.
Yeah, so if you already have the Heroes book, then you can get the extra subclasses as a separate zine, so you don't have to replace the anything that you already have. But for people who don't yet have that, then the extra subclasses are going to just be built into the new zines that you get.
Hmm. So, and I do see a bit of that on the Kickstarter page itself with with
Hmm.
some some nice varying texts within that. Um, almost makes me think of I might be dating myself, but it makes me think of like a dime novel. I don't know why.
I'd have to look up what that is. But that sounds about right, if I'm imagining the right thing.
Uh, for the record, a dime novel was a kind of pulp style book that was very popular in the late 19th
Yes.
century. Um,
Yes. So like a little mini comic book just for your own little hero. Yep.
yeah. Um, Obviously called that because they cost either 5 or 10 cents.
Which was expensive back then.
But no, that's all. It was that same era where we got the origin of the term Nickelodeon.
Oh yeah, okay. That's cool.
These were
Because
these
it costs
very
a nickel.
short, very short movies, only a few minutes at a time that cost a nickel each. This was the very early days of cinema. But
Very cool.
now, one of the big things that I really wanted to focus on with this interview is the new expansion, Monsters and More,
Hmm.
which when it came to the GM's guide, you did have some bestiary elements. Um,
Hmm.
you had a small bestiary that was only about 10 or so pages. I'm guessing some of this is expanding that, as well as things like the sample encounters for each type of monster.
Yeah. Yeah, so there's a mini bestiary in the original core rules books in the Game Master's Guide. For instance, like the goblins group takes up like just one page, and really just sort of half of that page. That group is going to be expanded out into be like 4, maybe 6 pages,
Hmm.
with more goblins, more like goblin bosses, and what loot the goblins have, and quest hooks, and like tactics for each of the monsters also. So
Hmm.
the monsters that are there are going to be expanded upon, many of them, but also just like a lot more monsters. Like
Right.
what would it look like to fight all the different kinds of giants, or drow, or different all sorts of different beasties and baddies that you can encounter in different areas. So it's going to be a big chunky monster book. It's currently clocking in around 250 pages.
Hmm. Or a rust monster if you're which is a shorthand for your GM hates you that week and wants you to suffer.
Yeah,
Uh,
there's no current plans for a rust monster actually, because they are decidedly unfun. But
uh,
maybe if I can come up with a way to make it less annoying, less unfun,
yeah.
maybe we can include a rust monster.
Um, I have found ways to to make the thing fun, if only if even if my GM doesn't like it, because um any monster that walks on the ground is subject to the up button, which I may have told you about the last time I
Oh,
had you on.
nah, I don't think so. Yeah, go on.
Um, One of my first D&D characters was a rogue. Thief at the time, if you want to
Hmm.
get pedantic, but yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
I had specifically said I do not want to do the whole sneaking around and disarming traps and ganking people to do what some people call kill stealing, but I call kill confirming.
Uh-huh.
I want to build traps. I want to turn a battlefield into a Chuck Jones sketch, or um that one mousetrap board game that everybody messed around with
Yes.
everything but the
Yes.
game itself. Oh,
Yeah.
and he was like, "Fine, give me some trap ideas." I was basically a magic trap master. We
Ah,
had to make
okay,
a
cool.
whole system about it, but one of the traps was called the up button. It is a
Uh-huh.
rune trap when it's placed on a 5x5 square. Whoever steps in that area, whether or not they are charging, doing a normal movement,
Hmm.
or doing a teleport, and the teleportation happens to pass by that spot, it still counts.
Mm.
They go up. They are treated as if they cast
Hmm.
fly on themselves, going straight up at 45 miles per hour for 6 seconds.
Okay. Yeah, that's going pretty high.
Not only going high, but also going fast.
Oh yeah.
And oh, at the end of the campaign, we're up against a ancient dragon in a cave lined with adamantite, which, as you are no doubt aware, adamantite does not budge for anything, even other adamantite. Uh, Dragon steps on the trap, immediately hits the ceiling. The GM goes, "Okay, he takes collision damage, then he heads back down." I'm like, "No, he doesn't. It hasn't been 6 seconds. That was like a tenth of a second." And he had said, "That's adamantite. It's not going to move." And I had said something that became a running meme for years. The spell does not care. Because I was operating under the assumption that a spell is like a computer program. It is going to do that thing and nothing else. You are not if you throw fireball, it is going to throw a fireball at that range in that AoE and do that much damage. Period. Same principle here. The spell says go up, you go up. If something's in the way, too bad.
Yep, you hit that thing.
You either break through that thing, or you ever see a car in a compactor?
I can imagine.
Yeah, a whole lot of chunky salsa as a giant dragon is literally crushed to death.
All right, wow. I can imagine why you'd remember that.
Well, a big reason I remember it is because that particular GM has given me the stink eye at every chance he gets.
Well, at least he has a memory also of the incident.
Him and I are similar people, and we are both ridiculously petty.
Okay.
But that, and I've done variations of it where instead of going up, it goes in other directions, and used it to turn an entire battlefield into a pinball machine. One of them says you go east, and the next one says you go north, and the next one says you go west, the next one says you go south. The idea came to me from playing Chip's Challenge, if you remember that. Very old, early Microsoft game, more of a puzzle game, but was also my introduction to ice physics, aka why I hate ice physics.
Oh yeah, I'm looking it up now. Yeah, it's ringing a bell for me.
Then again, everybody hates ice physics, but the last time I had you on, because of time, we didn't delve too much into the way monsters work from Core 5e versus how they work in Nimble. So, since this is focused on monsters, I'd like to delve into that. What are some of the major changes that somebody would have to keep in mind when looking at monsters in Nimble?
Yeah, great question. So in Nimble, you don't have a to-hit roll. You just roll your damage dice. So when a hero is attacking a monster, if they roll 3 on their d6, they're dealing 3 plus dex or 3 plus strength damage. And monsters do the same. So monsters just deal damage. But each monster is made so that they are very easy to run for the GM. So each monster is quite a bit more brief, more terse than what you'd find in 5e, but it's designed that way so that it's going to be easy to run. You don't have to really study the stat blocks beforehand, like especially for big legendary monsters, boss monsters, that kind of thing. But even the simpler monsters, they're made to be very, very interesting and unique, mechanically feeling. Without being like huge bloated stat blocks with a whole bunch of data that you have to ignore, and all the different skill checks and this and that you have to sort of sort through to see like what is the one attack that I need to do for this monster so I can do it and move on. So everything is done with ease of use, with speed of play to keep things going and to make the encounters tactically and mechanically interesting for the heroes. So they're not just differently shaped bags of hit points. They are all they feel different. Like it feels very, very different to fight kobolds than it does to fight goblins, even though they're pretty close in terms of like stats and power level and stuff. But like because of the cool abilities that they have as a group, they just feel very, very different to fight.
Hmm. Yeah, and when it speaking of that, and I haven't had this happen in 5e, but I had an instance in 4e where first time playing the game, a bunch of level 1s, they're up against kobolds. They're thinking, "Oh, these are kobolds. They're just HP and a stick. This will be easy."
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't. They wiped.
Oof.
Because of the way damage works and the way the monsters work, is that something that could end up happening, especially with the whole exploding damage kind of thing?
No. So the math is built such that the exploding damage is taken into account.
Hmm.
And the building encounters in Nimble is much easier to do than in some other like D20 fantasy games. There's not like a CR system where you have to like look up a chart and do calculations and stuff. Um, if you have a level 1 hero, there are level 1 monsters, and one level 1 monster is roughly equivalent to a level 1 hero.
Yep.
Or you can use two. If you have a level 2 hero, you can use two level 1 monsters. So it's very easy, very intuitive to know how easy or how difficult an encounter is, and you don't really have to guess whether. It's a lot harder to have like an accidental TPK like that, just the way that the system it works.
Oh yeah, I could most definitely see that. And when it comes to the whole CR thing, if I'm gonna be honest, I don't miss it. uh, I
Yeah,
wasn't
I
a fan
don't
of.
know that anybody particularly likes CR. It's not helpful in the best of circumstances.
You've probably heard your fair share of criticisms. I will say from my perspective, the big problem I always had with CR, whether it be in this iteration of it or its original version in 2000, is it's relying on too many assumptions. And one big
Mhm.
assumption, that being a balanced party of 4.
Right.
And
Right. Yeah, that's a big part. And especially when it comes to far more monsters than there are player characters, or far fewer. So if it's four players versus one legendary monster, that legendary monster has to either be so strong that it can basically like one shot one of the heroes, or it's going to be a cakewalk. So it's so swingy that a lot of times it's just not fun. And
mhm.
many people, the first thing that they start doing is home brewing and changing and tweaking how legendary or boss monsters work, and all of that is just not a problem at all in Nimble, because the monsters, the solo monsters, they self balance regardless of how many players you have in the party.
Oh yeah. Now, with that in mind, uh, I remember my time with 4E where they had and I kind of see this a little bit um within like the GM's guide for Nimble, where there's kind of a suggested group in some cases. Is that something that's going to carry over into Monsters and More?
Yeah. There's going to be like different pre-made groups. So like if you're facing goblins, for instance, or lizard folk, and you have a level 4 party that you want to make an encounter for, it'll say, hey, here is a good group for level 4 heroes, and you can just put that together. You don't have to, certainly, but it has like pre-made. You use 2 of these and 3 of those, and like this monster works really well with that monster. And here's some tactics for you to use as well.
Yeah.
But each monster also has like customized tactics underneath its little stat block, so that if it is turning out to be a little bit more difficult than you intended, then it has advice on, hey, here's how to sort of take it easier on your heroes if you want to, or if it's a little bit easier than you anticipated, you can make it much more challenging just on the fly,
Hmm.
just by using the tactics and comboing the different monsters in different ways.
Yeah. Now, when it comes to keeping things simple, is it easy or difficult to do that when it comes to monsters that are meant to have some level of casting?
Yeah, good question. So, casting. So, rather than referencing like, oh, this monster has fireball or this monster has that spell, instead of referencing a spell in a stat block, it says, this monster does this. So it can deal, 2d20 damage to any creature within, some range. So rather than having something that you have to look up like a spell in another book or write down, all of the things that you can do are just right there. And there aren't any. So a lot of like the spell casting monsters in like 5e monster books, they will have like additional sort of just flavor spells that you wouldn't really actually use in combat. And as a GM, you have to sort of just know that, oh yeah, don't use that in combat. And yeah, I've definitely avoided that kind of stuff.
Hmm.
Whereas just the things that you would need to use in combat are there on the stat block, and like other flavor stuff is elsewhere. If you just want to use that for like story stuff or lore things,
Hmm.
but I really don't like the idea of having to like sort through or slosh through a bunch of needless, fiddly, extraneous things that sort of just gets in the way and slows me down. Like I've
Yeah.
got enough to do as a GM when I'm running things without having to also figure all that stuff out too.
Yeah. Now, the monsters that were in the GM's guide were separated into different categories. Some of them based on environment, and some of them based on a particular theme. If it's one that could be in a bunch of different environments, is that something that's going to be carried
Mhm.
over into Monsters and More?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So, in typical monster books, what you'll find is like you go to G and you see like all the different giants there together, and you go to D, there's all the dragons. But that's not like particularly helpful. So if you have like a frost giant, he's not going to be fighting shoulder to shoulder against the heroes with a fire giant. So why would they be close together? So I see the books as a useful tool. So when you open up the page that has the frost giant, there will be other monsters that are going to live in the same environment that the GM could team up with that frost giant to fight the heroes. There'll be like yetis and frost trolls and different other creatures that live in that environment.
Yeah.
So some monsters are going to be organized by group, like goblins, when there's enough of them, and the goblins are sort of only going to be fighting together with one another.
Hmm.
But for other monsters, like hill giants or gnolls, like where they would team up with other creatures, those creatures are going to be organized together in a biome or other environment. There'll still be an appendix, so you can look
Hmm.
up like wherever like this specific monster is, but having the things organized in a little bit smarter way so that I can make a lot of different encounters on the fly without having to flip pages is just a really handy thing to have.
Hmm. Yeah, that I can get. Oh, and there's also been the problem of what to do at higher levels. There's that
Hmm.
narrative. Oh, D&D gets boring once you get past level 6, or once you get into the teens or something. And you do have sample encounters, and I'm
Hmm.
I'm curious if that kind of thing is going to run the whole gamut of levels from 1 to 20 now that you don't have to worry about CR.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. There's monsters that go up to level 20 and even higher. So you can build out encounters very easily with any level party, all the way up to level 20. And there's even solo level 20 monsters. And a new thing that one of the stretch goals that we reached was Titans,
Hmm.
where it's a single monster, but it's spread out across a couple of different stat blocks. So for instance, like a Titan spider would have like one stat block for its body, and
Hmm.
then like another stat block for its legs, and it would have like 8 legs that can
Yeah.
like do different things. So it's one monster, but it interacts with the players in a unique way, and it sort of becomes a puzzle for them to figure out how to defeat.
Yeah. I remember solos in 4th edition being a concept of, this is a monster that is designed to take an entire party by itself. I'm guessing that's the
Hmm.
same with your solo as well as with Titans, is what they're more designed for?
Yeah, yeah. So there's solo monsters or legendary monsters. So if you have like a level 5 solo monster, you can pit that level 5 solo monster against a level 5 party of any size. So like
Hmm.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It doesn't really matter how many heroes you have. the legendary monsters, they act after each hero, so it self balances. So if someone brings an extra friend and they want to try it out, you don't have to rebalance anything. If another guy can't show up and you have three people instead of four, you can just keep going. You don't need to worry about like making things a little bit easier so that you don't TPK the party on accident. So that kind of stuff. There's things like that that are designed into the game so that the GM doesn't have to do a whole bunch of fiddly work.
Yeah, and speaking of, there's been cases where a certain monster fits the environment or fits the encounter, but is either too low or too high of level. Do you plan on putting in anything on how one might adjust the numbers for different monsters in order to match a certain level? Like if there was a monster that you wanted to use, but it was maybe 1 or 2 levels too low.
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, on stream, we did this just a few days ago. I was showing off one of the new the new Tarask stat block. So it's a level 20 solo monster, big, huge, nasty guy. And then someone asked, "Hey, could I run this? Could I tweak this to work for like a level 18 party?" In the GM guide, there is a handy little table that says how many hit points a level 20 monster should have and how much damage it should do on average per turn. And I just sort of walk them through just take these numbers and just go up 2 lines, and there it is, level 18. So instead of X number of hit points, it's this other number, and instead of dealing this much damage, you deal that much damage. So it's really trivial to upgrade or downgrade different monsters. If you want them to fight a beholder or some sort of dragon or other thing now, but they're not strong enough, yeah, just downgrade a little bit, or vice versa. If they're over leveled for hill giants and you just want a particularly nasty hill giant, give them a couple of extra levels and you're good to go.
Which I could very well see that. And I know that one particular concept that some of my players have wanted to do for certain scenes, but the system didn't exactly go with it, is the thematic duel. The one enemy calling someone out and saying, "I challenge you exclusively, nobody else get involved," kind of thing. Is that something that would be relatively easier to do?
Yeah, you could definitely do that. Yeah, I think that kind of thing would be pretty easy to do, and it'd be pretty fun as well.
Especially since whenever I've done one of my favorite AD&D campaigns was Birthright, and a big part of Birthright is being lordship, essentially turning the party into a lord and their associates. And what I would be, I'm not asking for a domain play and something like that, because that's not what this is about. But in those kind of situations, there is things like mass combat where you get that whole the general is challenging you directly kind of thing. So it is something there.
Yeah, that kind of stuff can be really fun. There are we did unlock some rules for heroic bastions. So like you can make your own castle and upgrade it and that kind of stuff, and hire spies and mercenaries and that kind of thing. A lot of that is going to be sort of abstracted away, but you could certainly do that kind of thing.
Yeah.
With your story if you have those tools.
I usually use Seeds of Wars, which is meant to be rule set agnostic. It's something that can be an add-on to any game that is covering that kind of large-scale play, because it adds a large-scale kind of turn to a gameplay session, where after the adventurers are doing their thing, which is the zoomed-in part, it's doing a zoomed-out part that's covering the events that are happening within the greater setting.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah.
Think of it
there's
as
a lot of
the AI turn in
ways to do that
NE4X.
kind of thing. I like MCDM's. Yep. Yeah, the Kingdoms of Warfare stuff from MCDM is pretty cool. But yeah, we're definitely not getting that far into things. But at a high level, you can certainly abstract a lot of that stuff away and play it.
Now, obviously 5e has the whole concept of limited use legendary actions and layer actions. Um, within this, do you have something similar, or is that more integrated into the action pool that legendary monsters are already going to have?
Yeah, so the legendary monsters they generally have a pretty small pool of actions just because like you don't want to overwhelm the GM with like too many different things like a full A4 sheet of paper and
Mhm.
plus another sheet for all the layer actions and stuff. But what the legendary monsters do get is there's different phases. So for instance, when they drop to half hit points when they're bloodied, they get like a cool new ability that they do. Or when they drop to 0 hit points, they don't die right away. They unlock sort of like this extra overtime mode, where things get extra spicy and they get some new big huge ability.
Mhm.
So there's that kind of stuff. So rather than having like 6 or 12 different options to choose from on any given turn, you get like 3 options, and then like when you get bloodied you get a fourth option, and then when you get when they get damaged even further, then they get like they unlock one final thing. So it's enough options to feel tactically varied and different, but not so much that you have to feel like you need to study and like really do a ton of prep to get things to work properly.
Mhm. Which I'm actually glad with that, because I remember one thing that wasn't all that fun when it came to legendary or layer actions is that limited use ability to just render an attack completely useless.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it always felt like just like a kind of stalling, and in some cases just um throwing the rug from under the, not throwing the rug, but pulling the rug from under the
Yeah,
player
yeah,
who
like
did that.
legendary resistance.
Yeah. Um,
Yep, yeah, that is a thoroughly unfun thing to do,
mhm.
to
But
to your players.
when it comes to
Um,
the whole bloodied and last stand, and you probably heard this already, but I instantly think of the phase-based design with bosses in any Souls like I've played.
mhm.
Where as they end up taking more damage, they go into their next phase and um, expand their kit in some form.
Yes, yeah,
And I'm not saying it's a one-to-one,
yeah,
but you can certainly lean into that direction from what I'm seeing.
yeah, yeah. That's definitely the vibes, and we have done completely away with legendary resistances because a lot of the abilities, a lot of the hero abilities, are like, oh, stun this monster. It's stun them until the end of their next turn. So
Mhm.
since the legendary monsters, since they go after each hero, like you can still stun them. You don't have to worry about it being like completely ignored with the legendary resistance. But the
Mhm.
stun only lasts for one turn, not for an entire round. Since the monster acts after each hero, so again, it's a self-balancing thing. We don't have to put band-aids on the monsters like legendary resistances because it's annoying, it's not fun, and you could just fix the mechanics, the underlying gameplay, and not have to worry about that stuff.
Oh yeah. Now, with that in mind, um, I know that there's a bunch of loot items you're putting in Monsters and More. Within those, are you putting in suggestions for what monsters might fit those kind of loot items?
Yeah, so the current plan is like when you're fighting goblins are going to have like these 6 or 7 different items or however many it is, and then you can roll on the table, like the GM can just give the heroes one of these things, or you can roll on the table and say, all right, this is what the goblins had on them this time, or the hill giant is going to have his own table of loot that you can have that's going to be completely separate from the goblins.
Mm-hmm.
So there's going to be that kind of stuff where you don't have to really worry about, oh, I loot the body. What does this guy have on him? Ooh, I don't know. He's got like 3 gold pieces and a button in his pocket.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be stuff that's a bit more interesting than that.
Yep. Now, I know adventuring companions is something else that's talked about with the book. When it comes to companions, that's always been a tricky thing because you don't want to have a whole separate character that player has to manage, or worse, if you're doing a swarm
Yes.
build in Pathfinder, for instance.
I can imagine.
Mhm. but with
Yes,
companions,
yeah. So
do they work similar to like a limited version of monsters?
yeah, yeah. So companion is sort of halfway between a monster, like a just super simple monster stat block, and a hero or a full player with a character sheet and everything. So if you're playing solo or duet, or if like the heroes they just adopt the goblin that they just want to become their friend, like okay, here's a thing that you can use. Um, so the companion is something that it has like it's a simple action, like you can move and then do like one of two actions. And then like when they drop to 0 hit points, they get some cool little ability. So it's like just a couple of small little things that give you some flavor that continue that enables you to be tactical and smart and do some fun teamwork stuff without being overly complicated or overwhelming or too many choices. And the companions are great for like if someone has a friend come and visit and oh they want to see what playing RPGs is all about. You could just hand them the companion card and say, hey, why don't you play as this guy? And it's like a very simple introduction into how to play without fiddling with the character sheet and all the different things. So yeah, it has a lot of really fun uses, I think.
Hmm. And I do want to ask on the whole TPK alternative, since nobody,
Mm.
even when one player gets full on killed, that means they end up being taken out of participation until they're brought back, which ain't cheap. So what exactly do you have planned when it comes to TPK alternatives?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Great question. So, TPKs, when the players do something really dumb and you warn them as the GM and like, hey guys, you shouldn't be poking this dragon, and like they die. Okay. Well, they deserve to lose those characters. But if it's TPK just because like, oh, I threw like just a few too many monsters at them, or they just got really unlucky, or the story, it just feels like the story shouldn't end here.
Hmm.
This is an option for the story to take a twist instead of ending.
Hmm.
So, for instance, like Drow, um, it makes sense in the story that the Drow wouldn't just kill people; they would hold them hostage and use them to further their devious plans, right? Or the lizard folk, their pet Hydra prefers live prey when it's eating, so they take you alive and throw you into the Hydra pit, and you can
Hmm.
like figure a way out instead of just ending the campaign. So if you've spent weeks or months or even like a year or more like playing characters and like they're just oops like they're just dead, well that's not fun. But neither is like having no fear of death at all. So there's this sort of middle ground of, hey, I as a GM I can throw super hard encounters at the heroes without worrying that oh it's going to end everything. So if I throw these drow and it's a little bit too hard, well then that's fine. The story just took an interesting new twist rather than oops it's over.
Hmm. Now, I know that you're also adding the Earth School of Magic, which
Hmm.
incidentally I am glad to see more element themes with spells, because it means, well, my particular gimmick has more room to be used. You know, the whole ice thing and all of that, when there's only like two ice spells in the
Yeah.
core rules. Um, but something, but with Earth Magic, I'm guessing that it's going to have a mix of normal spells and utility like the others do. Is it also going to work on its own particular theme like the others do, or possibly have certain classes that are better at it?
So classes that are better at it, probably not.
Hmm.
But the cool thing about the cool thing about having like different elemental spell schools is that each spell school can really feel very different. So like the fire spells are like aggressive and like really powerful. The ice spells are more defensive and set up cool controlling things or like slow down people. And you can like have each spell school can have its own lane rather than like abjuration or like whatever some of these other ones are. Like that's not really it's not really a flavor. It's more of like a description kind of thing, and it's hard to remember what all the other things mean anyway. But like I can imagine like ooh yeah, the lightning spell school what it does. So yeah, the Earth School is like it's like big rocks and boulders and plants and things.
Mm-hmm.
So the plants like they don't deal a lot of damage. Like you're growing vines and to like tangle the bad guys and restrain them and stuff. And then you have like big honking chonking rocks that you can come and smash something that's like been entangled or slowed down.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a spell school that's like more controlling, but also like very, very slow. And if you can't hit them, you just deal a ton of damage. So
Yep.
it's things that you have to set up, and then you have these really cool payoffs.
So let me ask the obvious question: is one of the spells a ground trap, like a sand trap
Yes,
or
there
a
is.
mud trap?
Yes, there's one called Sudden Pit, and you can just open up a pit underneath the feet of a bad guy, and he's trapped in there, and you can. He can climb out, but like he's gonna be spending his actions, climbing out, or you can like drop stuff on him or kick him back into the pit. That kind of stuff is gonna be really, really fun.
Yep. Or if you prefer, set that up so that somebody can play whack-a-mole, or my personal favorite, um bomb dropping.
Yes, lots of cool teamwork combos you can have. Absolutely.
Oh, yes, some of my combos do end up feeling like something out of a Looney Tunes sketch. Uh,
As long as it's fun, yes.
mhm.
Yeah, knock yourself out.
And that has included the fake wall, or the fake door, I should say.
Yes, of course.
Someone goes into what they think is a tunnel, but it's not a tunnel; it's a wall.
Yeah, you paint the tunnel on the wall and then they run into it. Yep.
Hmm. Uh, I've I had homebrewed a spell once that was called Summon Anvil. Everybody always thinks that it just summons the anvil next to me, and like, no, this does exactly what you actually think it does.
Oh yeah. It's got Acme on the side and it drops from very, very high.
Yep. Uh, Now, there's also a few classes that are being added, as I understand it. There are 4 that you're
Yeah.
adding. Um, so I suppose we'll delve into those. The first one being the artificer, which has always been a
Hmm.
tricky one for D&D to handle, because because of the whole making it a hybrid caster when it's supposed to be a gadgeteer kind of archetype. So how are you tackling
Yeah.
it?
Yeah, so our artificer doesn't have access to any spells. It doesn't do magic. It's not a caster, half caster, or anything. It is an inventor. It makes cool stuff, gadgets or weapons or whatever.
Yeah.
So this is someone who uses their brains to and their technology, the things that they invent to do cool stuff. So this class sort of like one of the first inventions you get, or the first invention, it is one of the first inventions you get is like a backpack that can like absorb ambient mana in the environment, and you use that to fuel your various inventions.
Hmm.
And the inventions you can sort of like you can use them, or you can like give them extra juice and push them beyond their limits.
Hmm.
And then it's sort of like a push your luck type of mechanic. The more you juice it, the stronger it is. But then like you exponentially increase the risk of some mishap going on after you do that. So it's sort of like a really fun push your luck type of class.
Yep. And I love me some risk reward systems, some game of chicken kind of systems. And
Yeah, exactly.
that certainly fits the vibe, because and maybe I'm the only one with, I'm not gonna say the only one, but maybe I'm in the minority with this, but I've always felt the gimmick of the artificer is I don't cast fireball. I build a gun that shoots fireballs.
That's right.
Uh,
Yeah. Yeah, that's the fantasy.
mhm. Then the second one is the Scion, which I've said Rangers are a cursed class in D&D since day one. If there's one person who can challenge that title, it is the Scion, which has been not only cursed, but, for lack of a better term, bullshit in some iterations. Looking at you, AD&D. With the Scion, there's always been the problem of how do you make psychics not feel like magic in a different coat of paint. So how are you doing that here?
Yeah, so our Scion, it is distinctly non-magical, but it can do physical things. So it could do anything that, like if you were over there, like you could do, it can lift up the sword and swing it around, or it can,
Mm-hmm.
like you can launch your allies across the battlefield at some enemies. It's
Mm-hmm.
like purely physical things. So you're not like summoning, you're not summoning bolts of lightning or creating fire out of nothing. You're moving things around, or you're messing with people's minds. You're causing illusions by like making enemies hallucinate, or you're able to like dominate their mind by
Mm-hmm.
by doing different things. So
Yeah.
it's distinctly non-magical. They don't have mana either. They don't
Mm-hmm.
have spells or spell slots. They have their own psionic abilities where they can like with their own mind, like I can hold just a little bit longer, that kind of
Mm-hmm.
thing.
Oh, yeah.
And that one has similar push your luck mechanics. Well, it's similar in that there's like a push your luck mechanics, but it's very
Mm-hmm.
very different than the artificer. Uh, in that like you sort of you sacrifice your own health, your own body, your own you risk your own body by pushing yourself
Mm-hmm.
to sort of maintain these different psionic abilities for longer, or to do them bigger and stronger.
Mm-hmm. I can get that. Now, with the Hexbinder, Hexbinders have been in D&D over the years, but it's often been a offshoot of Warlock, or something that didn't really have a defined niche. Uh, so what sort of playstyle are you giving with your version of Hexbinder?
Yeah, so the Hexbinder is sort of, if you imagine like a wizard or sorcerer in D&D, or the mage in Nimble, where they have a suite of spells, and they can upcast those spells to do bigger, stronger things.
Mm-hmm.
The Hexbinder is more like a hedge mage, like a witchy type of class,
Mm-hmm.
where it is much more humble, much more like rooted to the earth and that kind of stuff. So
Mm-hmm.
instead of upcasting, they can only downcast spells. So they can, if a spell, excuse me, costs like 3 mana, they can shorten the range by half, and they can save mana on it so that the spell costs less mana.
Mm-hmm.
So they can like very very efficiently do spell casting with their main spells. But their claim to fame is that they are a very big debuffing class.
Mm-hmm.
So they can pick one monster to afflict with a variety of different terrible afflictions to to help aid the party, or to cause that monster some serious hurt. So it is a bit of a like a mix of a reverse mage, as well as a little bit of warlock stuff in there, a little bit of spooky stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But it's more like a humble hedge witch country mage kind of thing, with really cool chill vibes.
Yeah. Uh, and with the Revenant, you are you already kind of have um, things like Shadowmancer and the like. With Revenant, it sounds like they are the embodiment of "I didn't hear no bell."
Yeah, so each class sort of has like a different mechanic
Mm-hmm.
or idea, a theme that they revolve around. So like the Oathsworn, our take on the Paladin, it does a lot with like defending their allies, interposing.
Mm-hmm.
The Cheat, the Rogue class, has cool mechanics around critting and critting off and doing different things when you land in a crit. So the Revenant has a unique situation where it does unique stuff with death.
Mm-hmm.
So for all the other classes, when you drop to 0 hit points, you're dying, and you're very much hampered by that. Like it's not a situation that you want to be in. Like you don't really fight at your best while you're dying, while you're at 0 hit points.
Mm-hmm.
The Revenant, on the other hand, sort of just gets stronger when they drop to 0 hit points. So death is sort of like a thing that's very very familiar to them,
Yeah.
and there's cool other combos that they can do, and neat things they can pull off while they're dying. And it really doesn't affect them the same way that it does other classes. So that's sort of their unique little thing.
Oh, so I suppose a better example would be the age-old thing of "man too angry to die."
Yeah, man to your die, or like I've just I am on this quest, and like I won't be stopped,
Mm-hmm.
kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, which I will sense dub it the John Wick class, as well
Uh,
as well
yeah,
as the Moon Knight class. Uh,
yeah, right on.
because well, Moon Knight describes himself as the one you see coming.
Right, right.
Uh,
They're not the fastest, but they're not going to stop.
mm-hmm. uh, you could probably use that line from the Terminator as well. It doesn't feel pain, it doesn't feel pity, it doesn't feel remorse. It will not stop until you are dead.
Right, right, right. Yep.
But I'm guessing, much like with the main classes, each one of these is going to have subclasses to customize in.
Correct. Yep, yep. So, for instance, the Hexbinder has the Coven of the Hunt and the Coven of the Hex.
Mm-hmm.
They can do different cool things. So you can Coven of the Hunt gets you like a cool little familiar pet that can do different things for you, and the Coven of the Hex makes the afflictions particularly nasty, and you could do more stuff with like debuffing the enemies.
Mm-hmm.
And then there'll be others as well. Yep.
Oh yeah, and when now, obviously there is some material about conversion. When it comes to the new
Hmm.
classes, are you planning on putting anything about what sort of archetypes might be a natural conversion into those classes if somebody's bringing in, say, their 5e character into Nimble?
No, this campaign is less focused on that kind of stuff, but there is the Nimble 5e hack a zine. There's a rules hack for 5e that if you
Mm-hmm.
want to try out some of these classes, or if you want to use your 5e heroes with the Nimble rule system, or do different modular things, you could certainly use that. But it's
Mm-hmm.
fairly straightforward to do that kind of stuff. It's not too difficult.
Yeah. Now, at the time we are recording this, it is getting very close to 550,000. It'll probably end up getting to that point by this time tomorrow. So I am curious
Mhm.
what your plan would be if for dungeoneering rules if that gets unlocked.
Yeah, yeah, dungeoneering rules. I think that's a really interesting one. It's something that's going to be very, very lightweight, like very light in bookkeeping, cause in keeping with the spirit of the game of Nimble.
Mm-hmm.
But just a system to run like old classic, like old school dungeon delve kind of things, where there isn't
Mm-hmm.
just 5 room dungeon, a boss at the end, you go in, you leave, but it's like a mega dungeon where like the deeper you go, the cooler stuff there is, where you're incentivized to keep going as far as you can, where like wearing them down and the attrition of resources is the fun of it.
Mm-hmm.
So not every dungeon I think would be appropriate for that, but every once in a while, if you're in some sort of dungeon and you want to do that kind of thing, then it is nice to have that optional framework for the GM to be able to easily use without having to like come up with a homebrew system or use some pre-written adventure. You can do these kinds of things on the fly.
Mm-hmm. Um, I could also see. So you heard it here, folks. Use this to reintroduce the nightmare that is Tomb of Horrors to your players. For legal reasons, this is a joke.
I don't know if I would do that, but you could if you wanted to.
I mean, if somebody does it, I'm not going to stop them, but they knew what they signed
Yeah,
up for.
yeah, yeah. It's not
And
the tomb of funds. It's the tomb of horrors.
no, it is abandon hope, ye who enter here. But since there was a bit of conversion advice when it came to monsters in the GM's kit, and obviously I'd imagine there's
Mhm.
going to be something similar with Monsters and More. Since Titans has been unlocked, is some of that conversion thing going to tie into that? Like, what kind of monsters would be a better fit as Titans, and what might be a better fit as Legendaries?
Yeah, probably. Yeah, the Creators Kit is the free resource for people who are homebrewing or making their own content, whether for their own table or for publishing. Yeah, just sort of like the back, like behind the screen kind of math and like reasons for like why certain design choices were made. Things that are not like really appropriate for a GM guide. Like you don't need to know it to learn or run the game. But if you want to really start digging in and making your own content, it's going to have helpful information there. So yeah, I am planning on expanding the Creators Kit out a good bit, and yeah, that would be good good place to have some of those things.
Oh yeah, I could I could certainly see it. Uh,
Hmm.
and with each of the each of the books for Nimble have been pretty light. Like the core rules was just shy of 60. The GM's guide was 117. Do you see Monsters and More leaning more towards the latter, or do you see it going bigger than 100 plus?
Oh yeah, the Monsters and More book is currently clocking in around 256 pages. So it's gonna be the biggest of all of them. Um, yeah, so it's gonna be roughly the same size as all three of the previous books combined.
Mm-hmm.
It's gonna be a chonker in terms of Nimble books.
Yeah. Which, if you're doing a full GM's kit, GM's kit and bestiary, I think that is natural.
Oh yeah.
There's no way you could do a full bestiary of the monster manual scale in just 100 pages.
Hmm.
Uh,
Yeah.
I mean, you could if you shrunk down the text to the point where you need a magnifying glass, but nobody's going to read that.
Yes. Yeah. It has to be usable.
So, one other thing I wanted to touch on, since it was mentioned in the GM-friendly extras thing, what
Mhm.
exactly is sweet combos?
Sweet combos. So, for instance, one of the classes, the cheat, he has an ability called Vicious Opportunist. So, whenever he attacks an enemy that is distracted, so an enemy that can't see him, so if you're hidden, or when an ally is next to the enemy, so
Hmm.
he's distracted, when you attack him, if you hit, you can change your die roll to anything that you like, which, naturally you'll change it to a critical hit. So, you could team up with your allies to do cool things like that. So the sweet combos is rather than just like me doing one cool thing and I'll remember it and I enjoy it. It's like the two or three of us do cool things together. We team up. Like I will set up a cool thing, and then my friend next to me is going to like play off of that. So
Hmm.
things like that where you can work together with some cool tactical ideas and make more fun, memorable moments together.
Hmm. Which I can certainly get behind that. Now, what are you shooting for as far as a release window for the book?
Yeah, so for this Kickstarter, all the digital stuff that is ready to be delivered is going to be released right after the Kickstarter ends. It's ending on March 12th. It's going to be released shortly thereafter,
Hmm.
and then everything else is going to be released in waves as it's ready. And then for alpha or beta testing, and then as the testing continues to come in, the results and feedback comes in, we'll iterate on that back and forth for a few weeks, few months, and then hoping to have everything in the hands of the manufacturer to be printed this summer. So it's got a pretty quick timeline, but
Hmm.
this is far from my first project, so I pretty well I think I have a pretty good idea of how long everything's going to take.
Yeah, I could I could certainly see that, and I will definitely look forward to seeing how it develops. But
All right, yeah, yeah, thank you.
mhm. But with that said, I do want to sincerely thank you for taking the time out of your schedule to come all the way back to my monastery and enjoy the madness that happens here.
Yeah, sure thing. Thanks for having me again.
And anytime you see fit to return, the door is always open. As I often say around here, drinking is not mandatory, but it is encouraged. And, of course, a sincere thanks goes out to everyone who's took the time out of their schedule to come onto the show and enjoy the madness. And there will be plenty more where that came from, as there always is here, on the open bar of the internet. But until then, on behalf of the good brothers present and not present, my name is Mildra. I am your gaming monk. Stay fucking frosty, everybody.